Good morning and welcome to PhotoJoseph's Photo Moment, a very special edition of PhotoJoseph's Photo Moment. We are launching a brand new series titled The Business of the Business, all about the back-end business side of the business of content creation. We're going to be talking to photographers, filmmakers, YouTubers, and anybody who revolves their career around the creation of content, talking about the backside of it, what it takes to go into this business, what it takes to make a living at it. And our first guest today, bring him right in here, is Mr. Caleb Pike of dSLR Video Shooter Channel. Caleb, welcome to the show.
Dude, thanks for having me, man. It's good stuff.
It is so awesome to have you on here. So Caleb and I first met not that long ago at NAB of this year. So just, what is this, what month is this, August now already? Goodness. So it's just a few months ago. And we met at a party for Atomos, wasn't it?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah, it was a good time. So we were both invited there as influencers. I'm not quite sure how I got my foot in the door, because with your YouTube channel with a slightly larger reach than mine, I could understand why they'd have you there, but somehow, for some reason or another, they brought me in, and it was a lot of fun. It was great to be able to do the discussions about their really high-end. New thing was that they were launching the ProRes RAW there. That was an exciting day, actually.
Yeah, well, definitely. The Inferno, getting that upgrade. It's good stuff, man.
That was very, very cool. Right on. So we're just gonna launch right into the whole business discussion here. And before we get into the actual business side of it, I think for a lot of our viewers who may not be familiar with you and may not know much about your channel, I want to get a little bit of your background in the industry as a whole and what led up to the YouTube side of things. So let's just start with your base background before any of that. I'm assuming, and I don't actually know this, but I'm assuming that you had some kind of a background in video, film production, making pictures, making videos. What is your background before you started in YouTube?
Yeah, I wanted to go to film school, do the whole filmmaker thing. Decided I didn't want to go devastatingly into debt.
I can't imagine why.
Here around the Chicagoland. Yeah. So I was looking at Columbia, decided, you know what, let me just get some gen ed out of the way. It's got to happen one way or the other. And then a lot of people were like, don't do the film thing, could not work out. So then I decided to go for business and marketing, and did one semester of school. And in the middle of that semester, and pretty early on, in a basement of a college doing an accounting class, I was like, you know what, this is not going to be a thing for 4 years.
Interesting.
So I decided to kill and not finish the accounting class, but I did finish the rest of the stuff I was working on and just finished the semester. And then I was like, I'll take a year and just dive into video.
Okay.
Over time, I was shifting more away from like wanting to be in dramatic, Hollywood situations to just video production as a whole. So my grandfather at the time was going to this really huge church, and some of these churches, it's ridiculous. They're like media setups.
Right, the mega churches.
So I just walked in and was like, oh yeah, my gosh, yeah. This one wasn't, massive, but they had a video department and everything was live and all this crazy stuff. Or not live, but recorded. So I just walked in and was like, can I do anything? And so I worked my way up through the ranks there, volunteering. Through that, met other people in the industry, and it kind of tree branched out to meeting a bunch of producers, directors, doing corporate documentary type stuff, and started doing video production. Right around that time, the 5D and 7D came out.
Okay.
From Canon, and I had a web background, just messing around with WordPress, so I put together dSLR Video Shooter and started doing test videos just for myself. People started asking questions, so I started doing more of them. And here we are.
What year would that have been when you
2010.
started? 2010, okay.
Yeah, so almost, 8 years ago and change.
So when you started the channel, was the intention, what was your long-term plan with that? Did you build the channel thinking, one day I'm going to be a YouTuber? I mean, 2010, the term YouTuber probably didn't even really exist, but was your intention to say, I want to build this up to a point where I can make a living doing it? Or was this just an outlet for some education? What was the original purpose behind creating the channel?
I wish I had this grand plan, but I just kind of was just messing around, and I was at the time making money doing like web development stuff, like building WordPress sites and stuff, doing some production, and the production just picked up more and more until I stopped doing the web. But at no point until maybe a year or two in, I was just really enjoying it. So I was spending a lot of time. And I don't think a lot of people get that when you build something like this. As you know, sometimes it's 3 years before you start to see those green numbers. So yeah, at no point was it took maybe a year, and then I was like, you know what, this could be a thing. and I was more of a blogger at the time.
Okay.
So yeah.
So I think that's an important point, is that you started this just to have some fun, just as an outlet. You're creating it not with any real intention of making money, but you're enjoying it so much that you put a lot into it. And I think that's something we hear a lot from YouTubers, is you have to enjoy it. I mean, that, that should go without saying for any job, but unfortunately, a lot of us are stuck in jobs that just we don't enjoy. And we're very fortunate that we do enjoy what we're doing, but that is part of it. You can't go into this with the expectation that I'm going to make a living doing this, because the odds are definitely against you. And if you don't love it, there's no way you're going to make it. You have to love it.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of people, unfortunately, you just see these channels kind of drop off, which is sad because they made good content. But,
Right.
Open to be around for a long time.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, persistence is definitely key. So at what point, right now today, you consider yourself a full-time YouTuber. This is your
Right.
primary job, right? Are you still doing production at all on the side, or any other work that's all about the YouTube channel?
Yeah, if I do production, it's for the YouTube channel, or it's not like I'm trying to find clients and do work
Right.
for money. It'll be something just kind of on the side for
Okay.
the channel, probably.
And
Yeah.
about for about how many years now has that been the case, where you would say, "This is what I put on my tax return. I am a full-time YouTuber."
Right. For the most part, it was around 2013.
Wow. Okay.
So I did the math today or yesterday because I keep saying 3 years. I couldn't remember, but from 2013 on, I did a couple things here and there, and then around 2015, 16, I did my last gig. So for a while there, I was doing like one massive gig a year, and since then, it's been zero
Wow.
client stuff or working with producers, directors, sending invoices for shooting, all that kind of stuff.
That's impressive. Oh, that's a pretty fast growth. So from 2010 to 2013, at that point, you'd be able to say, right, flip the switch. This is now my full-time job. This is what I'm doing. That's impressive. So, kudos.
Yeah, and a big part of it was the timing and the industry. The 5D 7D just came out,
Sure.
and I started the site, and I kind of grabbed a surfboard and jumped on that wave. Like, it was not to put myself on their level at all, because they're insanely talented, but at the time, the only people making content on the DSLR video front was Vincent LaFerre, Shane Hurlbut, Philip Bloom, maybe one other person on a podcast. So it was really wide open
Right.
to jump in. And now, of course, there's hundreds of thousands of YouTube channels, blogs talking about, these smaller cameras with larger sensors.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. Yeah, I remember very clearly when Vincent did the thing. I was fortunate enough at the time, I was working at Apple. Well, actually, I had just left, I think, when he launched his movie, shot all on the 5D Mark II, and just how that changed everything. It was just an overnight shift, and everyone went, "Oh my God, this is stunning what we can do on these tiny cameras." Well, that's great that you were able to take advantage of that, and that you were already or getting on YouTube at that point. I mean, that's, to be able to launch into YouTube at that point and see that as a potential future. And again, I know you were mainly doing it as for fun in the beginning, but to see that, like you said, grab that surfboard, ride that wave, that was pretty impressive. So as far as growing the channel, how you got it to the state that it is today, and then even just how you got it to the point where you could start making a living to it, was there any specific marketing or promotional work that you did to get the channel out there? Or was it purely organic, just making videos and build it and they will come?
yeah, believe it or not, I wasn't really a YouTuber until either halfway through the year or a year and a half. I was like a Vimeo guy back when Vimeo actually was a cool place to hang out. And now it's like just death. But it was really like so many people, lots of comments, good stuff. So I jumped on YouTube just as another place to put my videos.
Mm,
Um, but after a while, I kind of made a conscious decision to stop doing blog posts, because that's where I was mainly I was trying to keep up with all the news, and you just can't beat the guys who are doing that full time.
right.
So it was going back to your marketing question. I'm a big fan of, I think it's problogger.net. It's been a while since I've gone over there, but it's an Australian guy
Okay.
who talks about making a living, doing blogging, videos, things like that. And I took a lot of he had this one like set of posts where he went through, like, if you're starting out, this is what you do. And I kind of followed his advice. And one of those was to build like these pillar posts. So put a lot of work into them. There'll be like content that's evergreen. And one of the tips was to create lists with other people in the industry that are popular. So one of my first blog posts on the site was, 15 other people to follow. So I just scrounged the internet, and back then that was like an exhaustive list. Believe it or not, it was so hard to find people, but I just found everyone I could, and then a lot of those people kind of retweeted it and that kind of thing. So that kind of helped a little bit, and then it was just the grind,
Yeah.
just content, and slowly growing, a couple bumps here and there. And then it really made a big difference when I was like, you know what? I'm gonna switch from being a blogger website owner to a YouTuber.
Okay.
So instead of putting the YouTube videos up and just link to all the stuff to my website, I would actually, the YouTube post or video was the content,
Mm-hmm.
and everything else was supporting that. And that huge difference. It went from just slow growth to, I think the algorithm knows when you're just using them as a video host.
Right.
And when you start to use it as a platform, it makes it crazy big difference.
Interesting. Well, that is really interesting. So you don't maintain a blog at all anymore? You don't have anywhere that you post embed the content?
I do. We had some issues with the site and Russian people, so hackers and
Oh
stuff.
no.
So we had to do a bunch of work and move servers and all this stuff. So it's a little behind right now, but the
Okay.
goal is for that to maybe not have YouTube embed videos, but it's its own thing.
Hmm.
And yeah, so
That's interesting.
I don't wanna let that die for sure.
Yeah, no, that's interesting you say that. I mean, there's the side of conventional wisdom here where you say you don't want to rely on any one platform, right? Nobody knows what's going to happen to YouTube tomorrow. Obviously, it's huge. It's owned by Google. It's not like it's a small startup that's going to go away. But anything could happen to it. Anything could happen to it financially, politically. They could decide that they don't want any type of content on there. And it's not like you're doing any kind of sensitive content that they might decide to ban or anything like that. But you just never know. And so relying on a YouTube or a Facebook or a Twitter or anything is generally considered not the best thing to do, and that it's a good idea to have your own platform that you have 100% control over. But it's interesting to hear you say that by shifting the focus onto YouTube specifically and using it as the platform, that's where you saw the growth. And I do wonder how they even, if it's more about the comments, the interaction, that the algorithm would pick that up and realize that you're really focusing, putting all your energy there. It's an
Yeah.
interesting thought. So I know for me,
Yeah, I think
go ahead.
go ahead.
Okay, so
Sorry, I was just gonna say, I think a big part of it is I know the audio sync is always a thing. If you think like YouTube, so how can I make YouTube money? That's a big deal. And for them, if you keep people on the website, you're making them money.
Right,
So if you do that, they're gonna push your content.
sure.
Not that I know how to do that, but just kind of rewiring your brain just a little bit
Yeah.
and realize that's what's really happening here.
No, that's a really good point, though, to think about it from the sense of you're not trying to make yourself money, you're trying to make them money, and you're going to get a little piece of that pie. That's a really interesting perspective to it, for sure. And I want to come back more to how we help YouTube make money, because that is a big part of this. But going back to the point of maintaining your own vlog, or rather a blog, and embedding the videos there, I wonder if it comes down to things as simple as allowing recommended videos to pop up at the end of your video, which I know could be one of those things where you don't want people going off to other videos, but on the same token, that it's definitely something that we want to try and keep traffic on ours, but you got to let the algorithm do what it does and feed people off elsewhere. I know for my site, PhotoJoseph.com, what I've just started doing so my site was photoapps.expert. My PhotoJoseph.com was just my portfolio site, and that has now kind of come together so that PhotoJoseph.com is the main website. And obviously, we do the videos here 3 times a week. We do our live show here on YouTube, but then we take that finished video, we do embed it into a blog post there. And the main reason that I'm doing that is to make it easier for people to find the content. Because with YouTube, as good as search is, because it is Google, so search is very good on there. If someone comes to my channel or your channel or wherever, and they want to look for specifically videos about the Canon 5D Mark II, right? That's what they want to look at for your channel. When they search for your name and that video, they're going to find your videos, but they're going to find a bunch of other stuff too. And so part of what I'm doing, and I hope this isn't to my detriment, is building a platform on my own side where people can very easily sort by and filter to see exactly the videos that they want, because the search isn't good enough, the filtering isn't good enough on YouTube itself. But it's interesting that you say that. I'm wondering, gosh, I hope I'm not shooting myself in the foot by doing this.
By putting it on your own website?
Yeah, but I guess time will tell. Time will tell. It's all about trying to get people to find the content, especially find the older content. When you produce as
Right.
much of it content as we do, after a couple of years, there's still content that's totally valid that might be a year or two
Yeah.
old, but a lens, for example, you do a video about a lens, well, that lens is still perfectly valid for many, many years, and you want people to be able to find that video. So that's the objective there.
Yeah.
So, interesting. So back to the YouTube side of it, we always hear about the algorithm and trying to game the system, and of course there are millions of YouTube videos out there about how to do that and how to get your videos seen, how to do good thumbnails, how to do good keywords, the importance of titling properly, and so on. Is there anything along those lines that you've put a conscious effort into? For example, changing your thumbnails, deciding at one point or realizing at some point that a specific type of thumbnail worked, and therefore I'm going to start making thumbnails like this, and then seeing a result from that. Is there anything specific like that that comes to mind for the growth of your channel?
Yeah, I've gone back and forth with that stuff, and that's such a tough call because it obviously is a thing, right? There's a reason companies do A/B testing on thousands of images before it goes to market, right?
Sure.
But I just found that with YouTube specifically, there's so many variables. It's not just a percentage of people that's going to look at a cereal box in the store,
Right.
and then a percentage of those people who pick it up. It's so much. You could make you could have everything right technically. The perfect thumbnail, that best possible one you can get, the best title, the best everything, and it could flop. And you could have a terribly done video where you just say new camera review lull in the title, no description, and that goes nuts.
Somehow, yeah.
So I've found over time just making good content, doing your thing, making sure you enjoy it, and you're not like, don't let the gaming of the system like kill you, because if you try to get into that too far, you're just going to start hating being a YouTuber and making content, because that's going to kill you. So I think it's important to think about your title, do some Google Trends research, make sure that's, taken care of, and then just do what is sustainable and that you enjoy. And I'm kind of playing the long game. I don't try to get on, Casey Neistat's vlogs, or I guess like try to associate myself with the 368 situation, or, oh, the new phone's coming out, try to jump on that, try to do the Note 9 stuff. I just doing my thing, and people, because if you keep playing with that stuff, there's a chance you'll start losing people. So it's really tricky because there's so many variables,
Right.
and most of the most important variables you'll never understand. They're so protective of that algorithm.
Yeah, understandably so.
It's tough.
Are there any
So I've
particular?
just been like, you know what, good title, good thumbnail. One thing I've found that works fairly well, and I'm trying to stick to more, is zoom in, make sure it's a really tight shot of whatever you're talking about.
For the thumbnail,
Don't
you mean?
do, yeah. So not that you would use as a thumbnail, but like your situation right there, it's kind of a wide shot.
Right.
Try to get like real up in here.
Sure.
This is an ancient camera, but you want something more like this.
Right. Get that really close
then
up. Yeah.
This, stuff like that makes kind of a difference. And think about the size of the thumbnail. It's going to be tiny, little stamp.
Yeah.
On most people's phones, and so try not to do too much text, all that kind of stuff.
Sure. Are there any particular resources that you use to get advice, or to understand what might be changing in the algorithm? Any particular YouTube channels or blogs that you follow to keep up to date?
Yeah, Daryl Eves is kind of my boy for that kind of stuff. He is certified and like essentially manages a gazillion channels. And he's such a nerd with analytics, so he's really good for that kind of stuff if you do want to dive into it. I would be wary of, it's so much, I was thinking about this morning, it's so much like this whole YouTube, the algorithm, what's going to work best for my channel is so similar to the whole efficiency, minimalism. People spend more time like fine-tuning what software they use for their processes than actually working.
Right.
And I think the same thing can be true of us YouTubers. We get so caught up in, making it work when we could just be making more videos.
Yeah.
But it's tough. No one knows.
Well, yeah, and that's it. No one does. No one, and obviously they're not going to tell us, because then everybody would do the same thing, and that would defeat the entire purpose of it. So, no, I totally get it, and I appreciate those who put the effort into trying to figure it out and tell us. But we certainly have to keep on top of that, or else we're working towards an old theory against the algorithm, which is always a challenge.
Yeah.
So are you doing everything there yourself? Do you have any full-time or part-time assistants in-house? Do you farm anything out, or all the work that you produce, where is it coming from? Is it all you?
For the longest time, it's been all me. Now we have an assistant editor that'll do just rough cuts, but it's remote, so it's not ideal.
Mm,
This fall, that is looking like it's going to change. So having someone in house
okay.
who can do all kinds of stuff, because it's getting to the point where I'll set up for a video. I wish I couldn't show you my desk, which I won't because this is a disaster. But it gets to the point where you set up, for a thumbnail, and you've got like 10 cameras on a table and lenses and all this stuff, and you have to immediately go import, finish a thumbnail, upload a video, and start writing and editing another one. So it gets to the point where this place is just trashed,
Oh,
no
I get
matter
it.
how hard or time I throw at it. So having someone who can be kind of a studio manager, editor, shooter, and then the grand scheme would be someday before too long, moving, building a studio,
Nice.
offices, warehouse, the whole enchilada.
Yeah, I think that's actually a
But
really
yeah,
good
right
point.
now that's what's up.
That's a really good point to bring up that I wasn't thinking of asking you, but we should talk about this. The space that you're working in, you are in the basement of your home, and you have done an incredible job of turning it into something really, really cool. I know you've done tours of your studio, if you want to call in on the channel, and people are always blown away. I read the comments, and these people are like, "Oh my God, I can't believe that's the space you work in." I know you have a really low ceiling that you're dealing with, and you have made the best out of an incredible tight space, I think, and you've done just a beautiful job of it, and
Oh,
that.
thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And by doing that, you are, of course, saving money by not having to spend money on rent. I moved into the studio quite a while ago, and I've got all this space in here, but obviously it costs me money every month, and so that's a big hit on the bottom line. I got to make all that money before I can start turning a profit, and it's a significant expense. So it's great to hear that you're thinking about being able to make that step, but it is a big step.
Yeah, and people don't get it. I think as someone who's, you know, done the condo thing downtown Chicago, had a big studio space there.
Okay.
You're like, oh, we just rent an office space, and then you're like, oh, sound, neighbors, security.
Yeah.
Just it's a huge chunk of cash depending on where you live to
Sure.
do that, and the logistics of getting to and from it and all this kind of thing. So yeah, this setup is saving a lot of money. It
Right.
definitely isn't ideal, but fully, but it's it's getting the job done, and
Yeah.
yeah.
And I think that's a big part of it too is the process of how you got to where you are. Right? You started the YouTube channel as something to do on the side and have fun, and then it grew and it grew and it became a business. But you didn't say, right, I'm going to go start a YouTube channel and rent a big studio and buy all these cameras and create this thing. Like for me, the only reason I have this space, I didn't rent this space to be a YouTuber. I rented this space for my photography studio. So I was doing primarily still photography in here, and then started doing more video, and then started doing more of my training, and then more of eventually doing the live. And I have adapted the space continuously to make it work for this. But if I had said, right, I'm going to launch a YouTube channel and go rent space to do it, that'd be insane. And I think that is a big thing for a lot of people who are starting off in this business or in the business of YouTube or content creation at all. But to be able to look at it and say, well, you need to have the space, you need to have these cameras, I need to have the switcher, I need to have all this hardware to do all this stuff, and maybe you don't, and certainly you don't. You can start from very small and grow into it, including the space that you work into. So, very cool.
Absolutely, yeah.
Very good. All right, we're going to take a quick little break right here, a little commercial break, if you will. For those who are watching live, we are monitoring the comments. We're going to do a Q&A at the end of the show. So we're going to come back for a second segment, and then we'll come back for a third segment that will be the Q&A. So if you're watching live, get your questions in there. If you can make sure you tag your questions at PhotoJoseph or at dSLR Shooter. At PhotoJoseph is probably better. You can do both of them, of course, and we'll be able to see those and pull them up and address your questions at the end. So for those watching live, we are going to pay attention to you. We're just going to do it at the end of the show. But for now, let's take a quick break, and we'll be right back. Hey folks, real quick, I wanted to remind you all of the way that this channel works. We operate on a value for value proposition here, which means if you feel like you have gained value from today's show, then we would appreciate you putting a little bit of value back. Head over to photojoseph.com/support, and there's a lot of different ways you can put value into the show today. And one of the best things you can do right now is actually going to support things like this business for business, a business of the business, I should say, a segment of the show. We are going to take this and put it behind the members only section of PhotoJoseph.com. So that means that this video, you're watching it live, you get to watch it for free. This video will go back online for free for probably 48 hours. Haven't quite figured that out yet. As I said, it's a new segment. But then after that, it is going to go behind the paywall at PhotoJoseph.com. And so for $7 a month or $70 a year, you have access to not only this video, and of course there will be much more of these in the future, but the complete live training series. And that is the absolute best way that you can support this channel and keep it growing. Plus, when you go to that PhotoJoseph.com/support page, you'll see things like the affiliate store, links to my lynda.com training, and even a link to a way to hire me directly if you want to bring me in to help you set up a studio or set up a live streaming show or just talk about your photo processing software needs, whatever it might be. I am available for that. So please do consider supporting the show that way. That is the best way to keep this channel going and growing and allow us to do more things like this wonderful interview with Caleb. So with that said, let's bring us back. We'll bring the interview back up. Caleb, you ready to go over there? Looking good to me. And bring you back in. All righty. All right, Caleb, welcome back. Thank you for taking some time with us. We're going to move on this show, moving the show into the talk of financials, money, because at the end of the day, it is a business, and we all got to make a living. So without disclosing any numbers, obviously, I don't expect you to tell us how much money you're making, but I do want to talk about how you're actually earning an income on this channel, and you know how this has evolved to help you make a living. So presumably, given that it's a YouTube channel, your primary revenue sources, or maybe not primary, but the obvious revenue sources are going to be AdSense, simply enabling those video ads and letting the pre-roll, maybe post-roll, or even mid-roll ads run. And we can make a little money off of that. And then affiliate sales, right? You're talking about a product, a camera, a lens, a light, whatever, saying on the video, hey, if you decide to buy this product because of this video, do me a favor, use my link down below. And those are the two big obvious ones. So moving past that, what other revenue sources do you have that are directly tied to the channel, whether it's merch or subscriptions or whatever it might be? What else is in there that helps you make money?
Sure. We do merch, but it's not anything significant at all. It's more of a, if you want to show some pride, that's cool, and I appreciate it, and here's some shirts.
Cool.
But that's not like a big deal for us, even though apparently that's a thing on YouTube if you're huge.
It's getting bigger. Yeah, I mean, Casey did his, and it was like,
hey.
I mean, obviously we don't know how much he made off of that, but you're thinking, oh my God, that probably did very well for him.
Absolutely. And then a big piece of the pie for us, and this is kind of future-proofing and kind of dovetails beautifully in with YouTube, is our guides. So we sell camera guides, varying prices, but all the way from like the A63, A6500, G7, G85 style smaller cameras up to the GH5, GH5S, soon the A7 III. And then I'm hoping to do more and more tutorial based. So we have our corporate video guide that's going to get flushed out and some new stuff with that soon. Someday I'd love to do a YouTube guide. So literally this massive thing that covers every piece of the process, lighting, gear, actually bring on people from different industries, beauty, maker, vloggers, all that kind of thing. Just do a well-rounded, here's some killer information, save yourself 3 years of making crappy looking videos and help people out there, stuff like that.
Okay.
So that's been a big piece of the puzzle, and that's also kind of our future-proofing off platform setup, having our own platform. That way if Amazon affiliates just decides, you know what, we're not doing this anymore.
Right.
Like that would devastate and destroy hundreds and hundreds of thousands, probably millions of businesses out there.
Right.
And we were in the same boat.
Yeah.
And so I wanted something that was going to protect us. And also the beauty with that and how it dovetails in with YouTube is a lot of people, a lot of these guys right here in the chat, Alex, Bart, you know, the hardcore veterans, if you will, DSLR video shooter veterans that have been around, they enjoy, a lot of them, kind of the long form. They want to take it to the next level, dive in and really figure some stuff out. So having a long form, so if you don't want random 10-minute, 5 to 10 minute videos on YouTube, we can kind of sit back and do several hour, you know, long sessions on different stuff. So
Right.
I like to grow that more down the road, have live streams over there, not just you buy it and you watch it the end kind of content, but that's been a big part of the business in the last 4 years probably.
Okay. So that's, you're taking the, well, obviously the experience that you're gaining from shooting this and shooting the YouTube show and all the lighting and camera techniques and all the education, the knowledge that you're gaining by teaching other people, and then turning that into longer form, more robust type training, as opposed to this just the little videos. And I totally get, it's so funny because on YouTube, people come and they want short videos, and my show is usually quite long. And I've been making a real conscious effort to try to get it shorter, but I do get comments constantly on the longer shows. This is too long. This should have only been 5 minutes. Well, it's a live show. You know, you try and educate on, it's a different format than what is out there. But then on the same token, I am doing the same thing you are with that, where I have the long form training, GH5 course. You know, we both have GH5 courses out there, and they are long produced, edited, polished, really nicely done videos that someone can download, purchase, download, and watch that entire thing. And that is a great revenue stream for sure, to be able to do that. So if you're doing that for a bunch of other things, not only the camera tech, but like you said, possibly a YouTube one, that's great. So that's a great revenue stream as well. Anything else? Any other little ones? There's an expression, I forget who to credit this to, but you know, it takes a lot of peanuts to feed an elephant, right? And we know that we don't want to rely on any one thing. As you said, Amazon affiliates that could just go away. And there was a period, it's been a few years now, but where affiliate sales almost went away in California, and there was like some major legislation that had to happen because it was, I don't even remember the specifics of it, but it was a scary thing. And at the time I wasn't making any money on it, so it didn't affect me financially, but it was a huge, scary thing. And yeah, you're right. If they decided to change it, or they decided to change their percentage points, we're going to go from, what is it, 3% now down to 2%, or whatever, they change it, that could have a real significant impact. And those kind of things we want to protect ourselves against. So, you've got the big productions that you do on the side to sell. What else? Anything else that you're doing?
Yeah, I guess I could kind of do like a pie chart visually for people and just do kind of rough percentages. So the guides and Amazon are the two biggest.
Okay.
And then with the affiliate thing, we use Genius Links, which for those who don't know, lets you do international. So now you're tapping into Canada, Europe, all that kind of thing. And that actually should not be ignored. I've talked to some YouTubers who are like, whatever, I'll just do US. I'm like, you should try it. You might be surprised.
Okay.
And then there's a little bit from YouTube AdSense, but you know, not as much as people might glamorize. We used to do donations and stuff, but that's pretty much it. Kind of those three pieces.
What about the
we don't do
new
sponsorships.
YouTube membership category? Because you have that, right? That's something that's open to your channel.
Yeah, so that is another thing, but I'm not really viewing that as a potential down the road. You'd have to work really hard to like give enough value to people to try to like sell that to the masses.
Right.
Right now, I'm just kind of playing with what I'm going to do with that. There's this, I can't remember how many people are signed up, but once a week we just do a Google Hangout and just cheers and just chat gear and whatever's going on in our lives. But
can you tell us a little bit about how that actually works, the back end side of it? Because most people don't have access to that. I think you have to have 100,000 subs or something before you get it.
Okay.
Yeah. So how does that actually work from logistics side, from your side? What do you see?
Sure. Yeah. So when you sign up and you enable it, you can go in. You can't set the price. Hopefully they'll change that. I'd love to see that be more like Patreon. It's $5.
Oh,
That's what
really?
people get charged, period.
Okay.
So they might tweak that to try to go after Patreon more. But right now it's $5. It's kind of a combination of like a Patreon feature and Twitch, where you kind of like support a Twitch person. You get like custom emojis and stuff. And then you can set the perks. So you could go nuts and be like, I'm doing all this crazy stuff for you. Or just be like, hey, we're going to do exclusive live streams, once a week. Or nothing. It could just be a thanks for, they get a little badge. You can customize these badges.
Right.
So they aren't showing up here because they're not on my channel, but there's a couple guys in here who are sponsors or members now, excuse me. And they get little special badges when you do a live stream. The people who are members, they really stand out in the chat.
Oh, okay.
It's kind of a pride thing. They're like, what's up? I've been a member for 6 months. If you get 2 years, you get this like crazy icon and stuff. So it's fun. You can play with all that stuff. I think for live streaming, it's really cool. Yeah, so it's kind of the sponsorship thing.
So
then the split is pretty rough. It's like I want to say at best 70/30
Wow.
creator, 70/30 YouTube. So it's a mass thing. I think it's kind of fun to have available, but it's not something I would be business banking on.
Got it. Got it. And so when
Yeah.
you're saying that they get the badges or some kind of icons when they're chatting, so that's when they're chatting, and we have super chat available, so people can click the dollar sign
Right.
and super chat, and then that chat shows up in the feed longer and with a big color behind it. So it's kind of
Right.
the same as that, but they're not having to contribute each time. Their chat comes
Yeah, they
up with
just
a
it's next to their name. They get this custom badge. The longer they've been a member, the cooler their badge is, and you can customize those. So you
Got
can
it.
take your logo and do all kinds of crazy stuff. And then they also can do these custom emojis, and you can make those. So
Got it.
it can be cameras. I have like a blown up version of my face and all kinds of stuff. So they
Fun.
can go to town on that.
Fun. Okay, so that's good information about the base financials, the kind of month-to-month things that you do. What about sponsored content? Do you get companies? I mean, I know you get companies coming to you asking you to do videos about a product because I'm a fraction of your size, and I have companies coming to me asking about it already. So when they come to you, are you doing any sponsored ones saying, I'll do this video for pay, and then saying on your channel, right, this is a sponsored review or sponsored how-to or whatever you want to call it? Or are you eschewing that altogether? What's your approach to sponsored content in that way?
Yeah, absolutely. We never accept payment for a video.
Okay.
To this date, I'm trying to think really hard. I don't think we've ever received money for any kind of video. We've never done a sponsored video. Definitely never accepted payment for a review. Um, yeah, I don't think we ever have. I've toyed with the idea, but I'm trying to keep doing the guides and the affiliate because I hate the idea of doing the sponsorship thing because now it's not, you know what? I'm going to change my schedule and do a video on whatever I want tomorrow or next week. With the sponsorship thing, you've got schedules, you've got deadlines, the red tape, and it just feels weird to
Hmm.
me. But I'm not knocking anyone. That's a great business model, and it's
Sure.
working really well for a lot of people.
Sure. Sure.
And for our industry, it's easier to monetize outside of sponsorships because there's stuff involved, right? So we haven't done that. Will that be like that forever? I don't know. I'd love for it to never be a thing, to never
Right.
have to do. This video is brought to you by. Um, so that's what we do. We do accept gear. So like Aperture will send us a light. I love Aperture especially because they don't get weird. They actually almost love it when we knock their stuff a little bit. They feel like it's super genuine.
That's cool.
But the way it works is we'll disclaim so and so sent us this light,
Right.
or so and so sent us this V-mount battery or whatever.
Right.
And then it's up to the companies if they want to, keep it or send it back or whatever. We always appreciate when they hook us up, but it's not necessarily a requirement.
Sure.
We do want to make sure there's an affiliate link we could use, and we only choose stuff that I either have already used or it's like a no-brainer, right?
Right.
Like Aperture's upcoming 120D Mark II. It's going to be, the first one was dynamite. This one's better.
Well, right.
So, and I think people get kind of weird about all this stuff, but I'm not going to do an ad for free, essentially, which is what these are.
Right.
They're not paying a dime, and they're getting these high produced, high quality things. So, we try to do a different approach, trying to get it into a win-win-win situation.
Sure.
I'm able to kind of vet stuff for people and help them figure out. And my channel, I think a lot of people like completely skew how this whole thing works. I'm not trying to shove gear in everyone's face and be like, you should buy this. Why aren't you buying it? It's more of a, if you're interested or looking for a light under $500 or a light kit under $500, here's the information. So a lot of people, it's hilarious on Twitter. People are like, my wife wants to kill you. You're spending all our money. Like, my wallet hates you and all this stuff. I'm like, I apologize, but I'm not reaching in.
Yeah.
You're the one swiping the plastic, dude.
Yeah.
So anyway,
just showing off what you
yeah,
got.
that's kind of what's up with the review situation.
Okay, that's interesting, and it's certainly.
Oh, and I should mention though, I'm sorry, totally forgot about this. We more and more are purchasing the equipment. So as time goes on, cameras, by the way, always purchase them.
Okay.
Because people get so emotional about that stuff. It's unbelievable. Like cameras are the holy grail, right?
Right.
So if Canon is hooking you up or Nikon's hooking you up, or you just have like an open tap at one of these camera manufacturers, things get really weird. So I try to be very careful about cameras. So we purchase all that stuff. There's a lot of categories like that where, not everything in here is sponsored, not even close.
Right.
So, or sent to us to keep. So we're just kind of building up that like account that fluctuates, We'll get a bunch of cameras, review them, keep the ones we really like, and work for our workflow,
Hmm.
sell. So we're constantly buying and selling equipment, which is kind of a hassle, but it's just better. And then you don't have to do a video on it. If someone sends you something to review, obviously, and you've accepted, you have an obligation.
Right.
They're kind of putting themselves out there a little bit, so you need to at least. And there's been videos where I've sent stuff back, and I'm like, I cannot do this.
Yeah.
It would be a disservice to both of us. So I'll ship it back to them on my dime just because it's not worth it.
Interesting. Yeah, I know. I have turned down reviews or gotten products and decided not to do reviews because my policy, I suppose you'd say, is I don't want to do a negative review. I don't want to be that guy. And there's plenty of channels who that's what they do is they trash other people's products. That's their whole shtick. And fine, cool on you, but that's just not my thing. I don't want to be negative about it. But unless I feel the product is dangerous, like I need to get this message out there that this is going to mess up your workflow, it's going to mess up your camera, whatever. And it's very, very rarely ever happened, but it certainly can. But I try not to do the negative reviews. And I get what you're saying. I really appreciate about you buying the cameras because especially for something that's that expensive, it's a $3,000 new camera body, and if the company's giving that to you to do a review, there's that big party that says, well, I kind of like getting these $3,000 cameras. I better say something nice and maybe not say something negative. And it's a tough space to be in. I know for me, because I'm sponsored by Panasonic, I'm a Lumix ambassador and have been for a long time since before I started the YouTube channel. And so when I do stuff about the Panasonic gear, I'm always very, I am a Panasonic Lumix ambassador. Everybody, you need to know that because I am going to be biased. Yes, it says in every video at the bottom, I am biased. Yes, because I am paid by Panasonic. But at the same token, I don't do reviews on other camera tech. I don't talk about Canon, Nikon, Fuji, anything else on the channel because this is my choice. This is where I'm sitting, and I've chosen not to do that. So sponsorship in that regard can definitely get complicated because it does limit what you can do because you suddenly can't go talk about other gear without being even if it was totally fine for me to do it. Nobody watching my videos would take it seriously. They'd be like, yeah, of course you're dissing the latest whatever camera. It's not a Lumix camera. Of course you're dissing it. It's like, no, come on, I'm trying to. So it does get tough.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, it's a hard thing to balance, and I think a lot of people don't appreciate that. Well, we do have to make money. The amount of money that we earn by you watching this video isn't putting any food on my table. So the money's got to come in from somewhere else, which is a big part of what this whole discussion and this video series is about. Is how does that money come in? Because as you said early on, the AdSense is minuscule. It's not enough to do much of anything with. So. Interesting. And then what about totally unrelated sponsorship? And I don't think I've ever seen this on your channel, but I don't know, a clothing company or a beard product company or somebody saying, hey, well, you do a video about a camera and then you say, this is brought to you by whitecoffeemug.com, right? Something like that. Has that ever come up for you? Is that something you're interested in?
It would depend. If it's something I really love, I was really tempted when Dollar Shave Club, I don't know if I should say that, but like certain companies that I love so much, I was willing to. I don't even care, because I just, man, this doesn't happen on its own.
Right. And their videos were so good. And then I don't know if you saw it, but total sidestep here.
Products are dynamite.
Yeah.
Now that I'm like giving them a free ad, but so stuff like that has come up where it's just the most random stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you get the same thing. A big thing now is all these Chinese companies that produce stuff and sell it on Amazon are just shotgunning the internet.
Yeah, they really are.
Ridiculous. Just tons of stuff. So I don't really do that. It would have to be related. Yeah. Okay. I think it'd be fun maybe down the road, but I don't know how I would spin that.
I look at that and I see it as quite a positive if you were to be able to get sponsorship that is simply an ad run. We're going to mention the product in the beginning. This show is brought to you by Product X. In the middle, do an ad roll, whether it's something you insert as an edited piece or like in my case of a live show, just saying, oh, by the way, this video is brought to you by this product, which is great because I think this is great because it's not biasing you towards your gear. right? You're not saying,
Mm-mm.
oh, I'm doing a video about this Canon camera. This video is brought to you by Nikon. Like, no, hold on, that doesn't work.
Right.
And even if it has nothing to do with your industry, it's a shaving or a beard product or a clothing product or a food product or something that has absolutely zero to do with your industry, then I think that can be quite relevant. It can be quite valid because it really does keep you, it keeps the bias thing out, and you're just getting
Mm.
paid as a sponsor like any other buying an ad on TV for any TV show. Same kind of a thing.
No, it's interesting. I never thought about it that way. Yeah.
Yeah. It's an interesting approach, and when you have enough viewers, as your viewership certainly has gotten to, I think it's worth for the companies out there that are looking for it, looking for sponsorship, looking
Mm-hmm.
to sponsor people. It's certainly a good thing. We never mentioned in the beginning. I kind of neglected to do this. The size of your channel. We were talking about the growth, but we never talked about what it grew to. And you're about to hit 300,000, aren't you?
Getting there, yeah.
Yeah, you're close.
290 something.
Yeah, that's pretty close. That is awesome. Well, congratulations on that. That is, it's
Thank you.
so
Appreciate
so
it.
awesome
Yeah.
to see. And I know when we met back in April, you were at 250. So that's a really great growth from there. And I only know that because that's when I first met you in person. And I remember looking into your channel, I'm like, oh wow, okay, this is great. So yeah, that's significant. That is very cool. All right, last financial thing I want to talk about, the really, really boring stuff, bookkeeping and taxes. Right, this is one of those,
Yeah.
everybody's got to do it. We all got to pay our taxes. It's, I know for me, doing this stuff is just absolutely no fun at all. Do you do this all on your own? Do you outsource? Do you have a bookkeeper? What's your position there?
No, and it's boring, but man, this will change your life. There's like 2 tips I have that just completely blew me away in the positive way. So I used to do everything, own taxes, own bookkeeping. When we started the academy.dslrvideoshooter.com, we switched from using Vimeo on demand to host our courses to our own setup.
Okay.
The startup costs are a lot more, but in the long haul, you actually make more because you're not dealing with Vimeo and their kind of weird way of formatting things. Anyway, that went from getting just one big lump sum a month to every single transaction. And so when that happened, I was like, all right, it's time to get a bookkeeper. And so that I think a lot of people think an accountant, like someone super expensive. But the way we have it set up is we have a CPA, does all the taxes, all the big business moves, LLC, creation, switches, all that stuff. And he takes care of that. And I found a guy who's like really sharp. It's all over PayPal, so we don't have to go into some office or anything. And then a bookkeeper who also is remote. She can do her own thing, and she's saved my life, man. It's unbelievable. So
Yeah.
she takes care of all the day-to-day, all the, she'll check in and make sure everything's hunky-dory, categorizing everything, keeping like little things like when someone buys something with a credit card and PayPal takes that small sliver of a fee, those stack up.
Oh yeah.
And depending on the type of transaction and all this stuff, like those are deductions that you're missing. So a bookkeeper can help you like deal with all that stuff. So everyone should find a bookkeeper, and their hourly rate is really low. And for our stuff, which is just there's so many little transactions everywhere, it's a lot of work, and
Yeah.
it's usually just a couple hours a month.
Yeah.
So
Well, that's good.
And you don't have to think about it. She sends you like this thing once a month, and then a package at the end of the year. You send that over to your CPA, and they take care of stuff because it's the tax code is getting so expensive.
It is. It's getting so complicated. Yeah, it does get
Yeah.
very, very difficult. Well, it's good. I'm glad to hear that you've got somebody. What software are you using?
I don't do any of it.
You don't do
They
any of
take
it.
care of
Okay.
everything. Yeah, so I just get a statement and a breakdown of everything, and I can check it, make sure there's any
Oh, so you're
no
very
errors.
hands off. You're very hands off in that
Yes,
regard.
completely. Yeah.
Okay.
If you find people you can trust, that's a great way to go.
Right.
So it's not like at the end of the year I'm like, how do we do? And my wife actually, she kind of does, since I'm just down here in the trenches doing my thing, she does a great job of giving me the bird's eye view. So
Okay.
she's tracking every little piece of the business each month, generated versus actual, where we're at, and she'll check in once a week or every other week and be
Nice.
like, all right, here's what's going on. This is doing terrible. This is rocking. You need to spend more time thinking about this.
Okay.
And that's really, really helpful.
Oh, that's awesome that you have that. Yeah.
And then the last thing with the tax thing, as you grow this if you're doing YouTube or really anything freelance, one thing that made a big difference is, as you know, this stuff sneaks up on you and you're like, oh, time for a quarterly. April rolls around. You got to pay your taxes if you owe any. and that quarter, you have to pay your estimated taxes for a
Right.
lot of people. So I'm not a tax person. I don't take this as law, but what I found was helpful was having a checking account and a savings account if you're just getting started. And the second you get paid from anything, or once a month or twice a month or whatever, move 30% over to the savings and don't touch it.
Right.
And that goes toward your taxes. Then when it's time to write that check, it's a joke. And at the end of the year, once everything balances out, usually you're good, or you have a little bit of return or whatever. But
Sure.
save for taxes. Don't let
Yeah.
it sneak up and bite you in the butt, because that sucks when you're like, oh, I got to write that check right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Where do I sell my kidney? Yeah. No doubt.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And since you don't have employees right now, are you an employee of your business, or are you essentially a contractor and your money comes in and you just skim off whatever it is that you want to pay yourself? Or do you draw a paycheck?
Uh, yeah, a little bit of both,
Okay.
kind of. So just the way the LLC is set up, and that's going to change state to state, and
But you're
depending on
not,
the taxes, it makes sense or doesn't make sense.
right.
We're an LLC.
You're
Yeah.
an LLC, but on paper, you're not an
Yeah.
employee of the business.
Correct.
Okay. It's interesting. It's a
Yeah.
different, it's certainly different approaches, and we switched over to that quite a few years ago. Where, well, I guess we did the full switch when I hired my first person, but obviously my employee is an employee, but I am also an employee, and I draw a paycheck, and I get taxes taken out of my paycheck, and twice a month I get a check, and direct deposit, whatever, and there's taxes that go taken out of that, and the business pays
Right.
every month. The business pays, well, month or quarter, depending on the schedule, pays a variety of taxes in, and so there are so that at the end of the year. Ideally, if everything was done right, there is nothing else owed. The taxes have been paid every month all the way through,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
is,
Yeah. That's where the CPA is great to be
yeah,
like, here's my exact situation, how much I'm making, how much we expect to make, what state you're in, how money is flowing, what kind of big expenditures are down the road. If you have employees, you just throw all that stuff at them, and they walk you through. Especially if you can find someone who's willing to educate you. That's critical
right,
for me.
right.
Someone who's got the patience and has kind of that teacher's heart kind of thing, where they can just like walk you through everything. That's good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned Vimeo. I want to jump on that real quick for a moment before we move on to the last part of the show. You said you were using them for the pay per view. I think you said for a while, and then you switched over to your own back-end system.
Yeah.
What was it about Vimeo that, I don't want you to throw Vimeo under the bus. I mean, it's obviously, I use Vimeo for a certain, very specific portion of my business, and I love it. But what about that wasn't working? Was it purely the financial, or were there some technical aspects of it that didn't work out for you?
A little bit of both,
Okay.
but by the way, anyone out there who wants to make something and sell it as a video, that's one of the easiest, best paying ways to do it. A lot of people are talking about Teachable and all these different things, but Vimeo actually, it's one of the best places to put videos up that won't cost you a ton, and you get the biggest cut from all the research I did.
Oh, okay. That's good to know.
And $200 a year, that's what you're paying for it. So it's phenomenal. So I love
Plus a
that.
percentage of every sale.
Right. Yeah, 200 a year. I think they're 10% they take.
Okay.
And then whatever legal, whatever the state or country, all that stuff. So, yeah, it's not quite 10%. It's like maybe 15.
Okay.
But a lot of the places expensive to host. There's all this other stuff going on. So I chose Vimeo, loved it. And it got to the point, though, where I wanted a little more control, because it's video. You can upload like a series of videos, a little bit of text. So I was creating a website for each guide with more information. So that was a little headachy. I kind of wanted more control, just like a bunch of posts with more information, text,
Right.
images, PDF, downloads, all that stuff. And also having control over the data, not from I'm going to sell my data to somebody.
Right.
But if a customer was like, oh, you know what, I accidentally bought this instead of that, or I realized that this is way more advanced than what I need, or not advanced enough, I had to like go through this stupid loop of like sending them through Vimeo and then back to me, and I just wanted to help them out
Right.
like right away. So that was the thing. And then the financials, I was looking at each year and even each month, doing the math, and trying to figure out how much I wasn't making, and it was getting to the point where it was like I kind of want that extra whatever percentage.
So you
And over
built your
time, that percentage goes up. So like the more volumes you start moving, you're obviously losing more and more. So that's where I went with Thinkific,
okay.
and I love those guys. They it's like a course platform, but you can completely brand it yourself, get it on your own setup, or just use their setup. And it's more expensive up front, so yearly costs are higher, but 100% minus a credit card fee or whatever
Okay.
goes to you. Way more control, and they're constantly updating the system. And for video hosting, it's unlimited. That's the ticket for us video guys. That's
Right.
so hard to do. They're selling ebooks and courses that are text and little videos. That's a joke, but
Right.
to
Right.
do 7 hours of video, that's
Right.
not a small feat.
Right. Yeah.
And stream it
Multi.
constantly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, absolutely. Multi gigabytes. Yeah, it's interesting. My system is a bit of a hybrid. I use Vimeo, and the main reason I don't use it to sell anything. When you buy something from me, it does not go through Vimeo at all. Vimeo is a host for my streaming videos, like where this video will ultimately end up behind the paywall at PhotoJoseph.com, because Vimeo allows you to restrict where it can be played by IP or by URL. So I
right.
pay I think 300 something a year, 350 a year or something for that level of service, which gives me the either unlimited or enough video per month. I don't remember what it is, but anyway, obviously it's enough for what I'm doing. I upload the videos there every week that go for the live training. And then when you are logged into photojoseph.com as a paid member, then the code that's on my site, which I have an engineer that does all of that, that's way beyond my
Sure.
capabilities. Because you're a logged in member, you see that Vimeo video, and it's totally unbranded. You don't know that it's on Vimeo. But if you were to scrape the site, if you were going to the HTML and pull out the code for that video and try to embed it somewhere else, it wouldn't work, because on the Vimeo side, they only permit it to be played on that website. So it's a bit of a hybrid
Yeah.
of the two. And then all the credit card processing is handled through a processor, and they just take their 3% or whatever it is. Not there's no cut above that. It's just the credit card fees.
Sure.
It's interesting. It's kind of a
Nice.
hybrid of the
That's
two.
great.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been
Yeah, and
interesting to.
Thinkific, one reason I went with it was it's all bundled kind of together.
Yeah.
They all the accounts are there, all the users, the coupon codes, and all that. But yeah, I know a lot of guys who do that. What you do,
Yeah.
and it works great. So
Yep.
that's another method for sure.
Yeah, there's a lot of different ways to do it. That's one thing for sure. There's no one right answer. Okay, we're going to move into the final
Mhm.
thoughts part of the show. I got 3 final questions, which I know I prepped you with in advance. So we're going to hit these, and then we're going to take another quick break and then jump into the Q&A. So, final thought question number 1: what was your worst mistake in building this business?
I thought about this a long time. There wasn't one like event where I did something terrible or messed up, but I would say overall, it's not saying no enough.
Mm,
There's that period where you start to kind of grow, and then you're getting all these like review opportunities and events and things, and you just kind of go for it all, and you end up essentially just diluting a good thing.
right.
It's like dumping a whole bunch of hot water in whiskey. Terrible.
What a terrible idea.
So try to say when it comes to opportunities that aren't what you're all about. If the soul of your channel and you is making videos about blue square widgets, and you start messing around with
Green round
paper
widgets.
folding, I don't know where I'm going with this. Yeah, you need to start saying no more.
Yeah.
And think about how you'll feel after. So many times I've said no, and then later it's like, oh, I'm so glad I dodged that bullet.
Right.
This huge project, and it probably wouldn't have gotten a lot of views. And just be willing to say no more.
Yeah. I mean, that's something you hear from CEOs of big companies, that their number one job is to say no, is to know when
Yep.
to say no, obviously, but saying no is a huge part of that job. So that's great advice. You have to say no, learn to say no. It's true. It's
Yeah.
easy to get caught up in that, especially when you're young, and I don't mean young by age, but young in the business, and you're starting it off, and you're going, I need to make money, right? And every possible dollar that comes my way, I need to grab it, and it can be very hard to say no to those things. So that is definitely something to educate yourself on and to get better at. Okay, so the flip side of that, what is the smartest/best decision you've ever made for your business?
I would say diversifying income.
Yeah.
I think people can get like, whoa, back in the day, people were making tons of money on YouTube, and then that disappeared. Amazon affiliate's pretty good right now. It did have that drop in percentages, depending on your category, but make sure you got that diversification.
Yeah.
And essentially, it's really depressing to think about and scary, but just imagine your biggest golden egg just blowing up
Oh,
one day,
horrible. Yeah,
tomorrow.
horrifying.
Yeah, what's going to happen? What's next?
Yeah, no
So,
doubt.
yeah.
Diversification. Very good. All right, and then last one. Any one single piece of advice you would give to anybody who wants to make a start in doing your industry and being a YouTuber and doing essentially what you're doing? Not being, nobody else should be DSLR video shooter. Nobody else should try to be Caleb Pike, but someone who wants to get into this business, one big piece of advice you would give.
I thought about this a lot, and I think there's two that I have to mention.
Okay.
It's just they're the two biggest things I wish I had changed when I got started. The first is start today, tonight. So if you've been like, oh, I want to do content creation or YouTube, create your account after this video and start making a video when you have free time tonight. So many people I meet and friends of mine have been like, oh, I want to start, but I want to do it right, and I want to blah blah blah. And they keep doing that. And at one point, a recent friend, I was like, dude, when I said you should just start 3 years ago, you would have had 3 years of content by now.
Yep.
You
Yep.
could have maybe been doing this full time. Who knows? So just go for it. What's the worst that can happen?
Yeah.
Someone swears at you in a comment section.
Someone says your video
it
sucks.
doesn't work out, and you just lose a little bit of time.
Yeah.
Like just start.
Yeah.
If you haven't. If you have started and you're not really happy about your growth so far, one thing that I really wish I had enjoyed more is as your business grows, and this is universal, it's not just YouTube, your job more and more becomes unfun. I still love what I do, but I don't think people know that making the actual videos and the fun stuff is maybe 25-30% of running this business. And as you grow, it gets to the point where all you get to do is deal with the unfun stuff. You get to deal when the IRS is like trying to double tax you. You get to deal with, all this stuff. When Amazon's like sends you an email and says, you know what, we might not work in your state anymore. It gets to the point where you have so many people working for you, and I'm getting to that point where it's getting painful. So wherever you're at, realize and enjoy. Man, I wish I'd taken more mental advantage of when I was just messing around with gear in my grandfather's basement when I got started. Just really enjoy that.
Yeah.
Just think, oh, I don't have to be hurting people around and dealing with all these things and emailed out of your mind. Just really enjoy that. Enjoy the journey. Yeah. I know when I finish a video and upload it, I'm immediately on to the next thing.
Right.
And it doesn't even matter what you've made. You just keep going. But enjoy that journey, if you will.
Yeah. Oh, that's great advice. I love it. And going back to your first one about just start, I know exactly what you're saying. I've talked to countless people the same thing. Oh, I should start it. I should do it. Well, just do it. And especially for live streaming, I've talked to a lot of people about live streaming. Oh, I want to do a live stream, but I'm not going to do it until it's good. And I every time tell them the same thing. Your first video, your first live stream, your first uploaded video, your first couple, your first dozen, your first 50, they're going to suck. And that's okay.
Or no one's going to watch it.
Or no one's going to watch them. No one's going to watch. They're going to suck. Every time you do it, especially live where you can't go back and fix it because it was live, it's going to be a disaster. And that's okay. You have to accept that and just fix it for next time. And I am still, even with all this production that goes on here, there are still things that sometimes I make a mistake, sometimes like, oh, I should have done that differently, but we're learning constantly evolving it. And you look at this show from just 6 months ago and it's gonna look different a year or 2 years ago, and it's massively different. But I started it, my first live broadcast was from my phone. When I said I drew a line in the sand, I'm starting this show on this day, and the show was literally from my phone, that was the first PhotoJoseph's photo moment. It's ridiculous, and now it's a massively different thing. But nobody starts here. Nobody starts with what we're looking at right now on your screen. Yeah, we all start small and got to grow from there. So great advice. Great advice. Okay, we're going to take another quick break. For those of you watching live, we're going to go into the Q&A section right now. So if you haven't got your question in there, now's your chance to get it in. We'll go through and see what we can answer for you. Make sure you put at PhotoJoseph and or at DSLR shooter, video shooter in front of it so that we can see it on our screen. We know that you've got a question, and we'll be right back for that. All right, folks, one more quick little ad break here. I want to remind you of our trip to India coming up. For those of you who are watching live, this is going to be a heck of a lot of fun. If you have never been to India, I'm doing a photography tour / workshop. Go to photojoseph.com/India to learn all about it. January 30th to February 9th of next year, 2019. And this is going to be so cool. We are going to visit some incredible locations. We're going to meet just an incredibly diverse number of people and the type of people, and people from all over the world, all over India. And we're going to see some things that normal people don't get to see. Normal tourists do not get to see. We are going to be a part of an event that's going to have 60 million people present at it. And it sounds absolutely ridiculous, but it is actually happening, and is something we're doing early next year. So visit photojoseph.com/India. Check that out. Learn all about it there. If you have any questions about it at all, you can reach out to me on social media. You can email me from the site, whatever you want. Ask me. I will get your answers to you. And please consider joining us. It is going to be an absolutely incredible, incredible adventure. So with that said, let's roll back into the interview, and it is time to bring up the Q&A. Caleb, you ready to answer some tough questions from our viewers here?
Let's rumble.
Let's rumble. I'm going to scroll back to the very beginning of the chat here and see what we've got on here. Let me bring up the chat here. Let's get the right screen up. There it is. And so here you guys, you can see this is my screen. So if you put out PhotoJoseph, it shows up in red on the screen there, and we know exactly what's going on. So let's see, our construction podcast. I was just saying, awesome to see our idea became a reality. Thank you. Caleb is a great inspiration. Caleb is a great inspiration. I think construction podcast is one of the original idea creators behind this whole business for business concept, which hopefully it's going to turn out really well.
Oh,
so,
nice.
Yeah. Yeah, very good. Bart says, I delivered pizza for 13 years until I finally stepped away and started my own video production business. Bart, that's impressive. From pizza delivery to video production, that is awesome. But yeah, it takes time. It takes time to do it. And it's great to be able to do that production, to do something and build it up and have a little side gig, a little side thing that's making a little money. Because that's a huge part of it, right? We talked about how you make money doing this. It's hard to flip that switch. It's really hard. But if you're doing something, especially doing something you can ramp down, work less and less hours on the other gig, that can be a great way to make the transition into it for sure. Yeah, I know you didn't flip a switch overnight, Caleb. You were doing other production, and then you got down to like one a year, and then eventually phased it out entirely. That's great to be able to do, for sure. Alenka saying, great interview. Well, thank you, honey. My wife's watching. That's very nice. Let's see.
Love it.
All right, and Caleb, by the way, if you've got your screen open there too, you might want to look and see if anybody tagged you and didn't tag me. You want to bring up a question.
No, there's some solid stuff here. I don't know if you want me to jump in right now.
Sure, go for it. Go ahead.
Okay. When you stop, this is from Alex, one of our members. When you stopped freelancing, I'm sure your finances took a dip at first. How long did it take for you to find equilibrium, and what were your revenue streams? So yeah, that's a great question. It just kind of slowly, the pendulum moved, if that's a good analogy. Was doing all kinds of video production, invoicing, working with producers, directors, shooting, editing, and then it just slowly changed. And I kind of did, there was like 3 modes: web work, which I slowly phased out till I was just doing video production in the channel, and then just less and less jobs as the revenue was growing on the channel. And it got to the point where it's like, I kept doing the big gigs, right? I was doing the one a year, huge checks, big juicy checks. And I got to the point where it's like, I'm killing myself for these, and doing a YouTube video, you don't get anything at first.
Yeah.
But that's, going to be out there forever, hopefully. So it makes sense to lose that big check, but that big check you get, those hours are gone forever. So the whole passive income thing.
Yeah.
Finding equilibrium, it was probably a good solid 1.5 2 years of slowly transitioning over.
Yeah. And it's, if you have a partner that is helping financially around in the household, that can be tremendously helpful as well, to be able to work through it with your partner, to be able to say, look, honey, this is something that I really want to do. This is my plan, and to have a plan and to say, maybe we're going to make some changes in our financial life because we know we're going to take a hit. As I quit this 6-figure-a-year job that I've been doing for all these years, and I start doing this YouTube channel, which is already making some money. I mean, it's not the kind of thing, unless you got a ton of money in the bank, you can just say, right, boss, I quit, I'm out of here, and then start at zero. You really need to start building it up, and at some point you go, okay, well, now I'm going to take a hit, and I'm going to, my income's going to get cut in half or by 1/3 or whatever when I do this, but I'm going to ramp it up as quickly as I can. to be able to plan for that and have the financial support in your family, to have your partner being able to, willing to help you through that. Like I said, if you got money set aside or whatever the case may be, it's a hard thing to do, but having that support is a huge part of it for sure. No doubt about it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and if you don't ever have to flip the switch, if you're not going from, well, delivering pizzas to doing this, if you're doing something that is part of it, more like what you were saying of you're doing production, then you started doing your own production, and eventually the production for clients went down, the production for yourself went up. You're effectively doing the same work. It's just your client is now you instead of, well, you and the audience, as opposed to Bob's, whatever company that hired you. It can make that a little bit easier. But yeah, it's tough. It is a tough transition to make. Planning, working with your partner to, if you're married, if you have a partner, someone financial in your life that's going to help out that way, making sure that you have that planned out, no surprises, and do the best you can. But it's definitely a tough one, for sure.
Yeah,
for sure. Let's see here. Question from, it was a question or a comment, but I'm going to bring this back up. Burns is saying, I started doing YouTube because I enjoyed the equipment. Over time, I got to like being in front of the camera. Now I video my normal work and post it to help others. The golf cart work. Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, and that's a huge part of it too. It's not like you have to go, I am going to do this as a living. It's you start doing it because you enjoy it, and then you realize, well, maybe I can make a little money along the way. This can evolve into something else, and that's a big part of it too. And I think for a lot of people, that is how it begins. You just start doing it because you enjoy it. You want to have some fun. Dave Ulzer says, you both have incredible live streams. Thank you very much, Dave. And great audio. What's the best setup for a $1,000 budget, provided I already own a camera and mics? I need 2 audio inputs. Under $1,000. That's
to me, that's a huge budget, but I have a very simple setup compared to your.
Okay, well,
your
go ahead and share with us what you've got there.
Spaceship over there.
Oh, and thank you,
I was
Construction
just gonna
Podcast.
say, yeah, if you already have a camera, a good capture card. A lot of people talk about the Elgatos. They're a little hiccupy, in my opinion. So I like the AVIO 4Ks. They just take whatever and they just work.
Yeah.
They'll take a 4K. They'll do whatever kind of downscaling you want. I use OBS and a mic arm and a microphone, and I would spend some money on the lighting setup. If you're at a desk like this, having a good light, monitor, camera, light, and you're done. But you got beast mode over there.
Well, yeah, so. It's a bit different, but I mean, the show has so much more that we do in here. We move around a lot in space and multiple camera angles and things like that. But for live, so you're using OBS, so a software-based system. So you've got your computer, you're running software on there, and if you're bringing in a single input going through a card like the AVIO is great, and that's going to bring that in. And if you're just going to put that on screen and stream, you're good to go. It's when you start getting involved with multiple camera angles, wanting to do more than just that one camera, that does get a little bit tougher, and it can really tax your system. And systems like OBS or Wirecast, that's where they're going to start to fall down when you try and give them too much. Plus, you got to realize that your computer doesn't have these inputs built into them, right? It doesn't have a bunch of HDMI inputs, so you've got to add them. And every time you add one, that's cutting into the bandwidth. The AVIO is USB based, so you have a limited amount of USB bandwidth. You can get Thunderbolt based ones, but which actually are great price wise. They're not bad at all. Blackmagic makes a few of these, but then you are limited to how many Thunderbolt ports you have. And most of a Mac laptop's only going to have 2, unless you got a Mac Pro. I think you're still at 2. I mean, I don't know if the new iMacs might have more
4.
than 2. They have 4. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's tough, and there is no hub for that. So you run into walls pretty quickly when you want to grow up. But if you're doing small, like Caleb said, you get camera and AVIO to bring your camera into the Mac. You've already got the camera, the mics in the Mac, so you need lighting, absolutely. You need an audio interface, and there's a lot of audio interfaces out there. The one that I'm using from Behringer, the XR16, allows just an incredible number of inputs. It's super, super robust. Love this thing. And well, all told, you might break your budget going into that. But they have smaller versions of this as well. But then acoustic treatment, that's another one I'm going to hit. You want your audio to sound good. It's what you don't see. Like surrounding me right now are acoustic blankets, and I'm in a big open space, but I've built kind of a cocoon here. And I know, Caleb, in your space, why don't you talk a little bit about the acoustic treatments that you've done in there?
Oh, just tons of foam. I like The Foam Factory, not Foam Factory, but The Foam Factory.
Okay.
Interesting looking website, but they're the best, cheapest, best foam. Not that garbage you'll find on Amazon or eBay. And then Producer Choice sound blankets. Can't beat them.
Yeah.
Family-owned business. dynamite blankets.
Nice.
Thick,
Yeah, and,
nice,
and just
good
to
stuff.
throw it out there too, those acoustic paneling and blankets, they do vary in price, they do vary in quality, but you'll see the acoustic blankets, and I can't bring it into camera range because it's kind of tethered to the wall here, but you'll hear about these acoustic blankets, and you'll hear them called moving blankets. That's exactly what they look like, the same things that your mover truck would wrap around your couch or piano, whatever, and stick it in the moving truck. They are not moving blankets, and don't think that they're the same thing. The regular moving blankets are not fire treated. The actual acoustic blankets are, and you want fire safety. You know, that's an important thing. You've got all kinds of crazy stuff going around, all kinds of lights and electricity and power cables running all over the place. You don't want to turn your place into a fire hazard. And of course, if you're in a commercial space like I am, we get fire inspections, so I have to have the right stuff here. But even in your house, you know, if you're going to buy blankets, make sure you get the acoustic ones. They cost more, but do make sure you're buying the right thing. But yeah, building an acoustically clean space is a huge, huge part of making your audio sound good. The best mic in the world is still going to sound like crap if you've got a bad audio space around you. Echoes and you know, slapbacks and all that stuff. It's just no good. So that's going to be a big one. Construction Podcast, thank you very much for the super chat in there. Said, let me bring this back up here. Said, thank you for that video. You're quite welcome, and I wish you luck for the new series. Thank you again. Would love to see a video on how to do live stream interviews. That could be an entire course on its own. I mean, I know you were talking about wanting to do just a video on how to do YouTube videos, but doing the live stream part of it, there is so much that goes into it. And I've done a few on this channel already, but it's not like a meticulous step-by-step. It's more of a, let me give you a tour of the madness that is my production studio.
Yeah, yeah.
There's so many ways to do it. You've watched them.
Oh yeah.
There are so many ways to do it. That's a big part of this. There is no one answer. It's not like, oh, well, you need this, this, and this. There's so much variation. And I will tell you this, and not just to plug my own, but I'm going to plug my own. If you really are going to be serious, you really want to do this right, and you want to spend as little as possible to get what you really want to do, hire somebody. Hire somebody who really knows what they're doing. You know, I'm available. Caleb, I don't know if you're available for that sort of thing, but hire someone who's been through this, because while you may spend a few $1,000s hiring someone, you will save tens of thousands of dollars in production equipment that you bought because you bought the wrong thing, or you didn't buy good enough, or whatever. Just get some help. If you want to do this right on a high level, if you just want to start off and to grab a camera and go live, then the stuff we talked about before, that's great. That's all you need. But if you want to do this right, if you want to do it on a higher production, I shouldn't say right. If you want to do it on a higher production level, hire someone. That's definitely going to be a good idea. Caleb, are you seeing any other questions in there that are labeled to you that you want to address?
Oh yeah, I can do a quick lightning round because there's some really interesting ones
here. Okay, good. Go for it.
A bunch of people being super sweet, so thank you guys so much. Caleb, do you ever rent equipment and do reviews on them? Yes, I used to do a lot of stuff with B&H where they loan gear to me for 30 days, and they have a program there. But then you're kind of, only linking to them. I'd use lens rentals a lot of the time. Sometimes it makes more sense to rent the same lens 3 times a year than to buy it for a video. But I try to keep stuff in stock that I know I'm going to constantly be using. Can you talk about the 75% other stuff of the business? So many emails, keeping track of the videos, spreadsheets, where we're going to be in 5 years, customers, making sure everyone's cool over at the Academy, writing videos and writing the Academy. Like when I do one of these guides, I take a camera and that's my life for the next 3 weeks. Learning testing every single thing. And that's how I find all these little nerdy things, and I put all that stuff in the guides. So that just is brutal. And then trying to do at least 1 video a week on top of that. It's crazy. I don't know how people do YouTube not full time, if they're making regular content that's well produced. It just takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
We talked about that one. Any rumors you're looking forward to from Dave Altizer? What's up, Dave? Great guy. I don't know. This Nikon thing, part of me is like, it's going to be a whatever. Just oh yay, it's mirrorless now. And it does 4K just like everybody else, and it has stabilized. So it'd be cool if they did something really wild. But yeah, who knows? And then Canon and Sony are being really quiet. They both have big releases coming up. So I think Canon and Sony, what they're up to, especially Canon, because they're about to either make something really mediocre or really interesting.
Fair enough. Shark came in with a question here. Says, I have a GH5 with XLR adapter. That's the XLR1. When using the Atomos Ninja Inferno. Okay, what is the best way to record sound, XLR adapter or XLR breakout cable to the Inferno? So the audio, the XLR1 is for bringing audio in, syncing it with your camera, and then recording internally. Or if you're going out to the Atomos, the audio is not going to go out separately. It's still going to go out over the HDMI. If you're routing it through the camera. If you wanted to just record it separately, then yeah, the Atomos has an XLR breakout cable, so you could record that separately, although I don't think there's gonna be any advantage to doing that. If you already have the XLR1, you're feeding your audio in there, it'll make it easier because you know it's gonna be in sync. If you're recording the audio and video input separately on the Atomos, you would have to go in and adjust the sync on it, which you can do. There's an interface to do that, but you would have to do that to get it into sync, and I don't think there's gonna be any advantage. Caleb, do you know if there's any advantage to doing that? The preamps on the...
I would just do the XLR.
Yeah.
I mean, going into the Atomos, you got that big rat's nest of cables, and sync could be an issue. Personally, these days, I don't do anything in camera audio-wise anymore. I'll send it out from my recorder, but just recorded sound separately. Everybody sleeps better at night. You have more control. So I just use the Mix Pre 3, from Sound Devices.
Okay.
And I think that should be everyone's goal. If you do video production and you do audio, save for that thing.
Interesting.
And when you get it, you're pretty much set for life. It's so good.
So you're doing that.
It's not thousands of dollars.
Right. And so you're doing that instead of feeding the audio into any one camera, even if it's XLR.
Yeah. Because linking sound is a joke these days. It's just right click, create multicam.
Right.
Right
you're
click,
done. It's perfect.
Link sound, you're done. And that thing has analog, limiters. So when I mess up and it's peaks, it's totally fine. And just so much power. So
nice.
Preamps are silent, Right. It's good stuff.
Great. Good advice. And of course, if you're doing a run and gun, that might be a little bit harder to do, which is where the things like the XLR1 come into play.
Yeah. If I'm doing a documentary, I'm rocking the GH5 or 5S with the XLR adapter.
Yeah.
Easy.
Yeah.
One battery, you're done.
Yeah, which I love. I think the XLR adapter is awesome for that. I really want to get the new Sennheiser mics that have where the receiver looks like basically an antenna that plugs into XLR, so you can put two of those into the XLR1 side by side. That's
hot.
Future, yeah, they're pretty awesome. That's next time. There's always something, isn't there? There's always something else to buy.
Mm-hmm. Always something.
Let's see here. Construction podcast, and I'm a Lumix user mainly because of you. Well, thank you very much. I bought my GH5 used, but I got your Linda training to show how to use it and was amazing. Awesome. Highly recommended. Thank you very much. I'm still in early stages of creating content. Awesome. Well, that's how you get started. Very good. I'm glad to hear that. And Burns says, do either of you use, I should bring this up, do either of you use or have a preferred external audio recorder? Oh, well, there you go. You just answered that, didn't you? The what did you call it?
Yep. Yeah. Did he say, was it just a recorder he was asking about?
Yeah, well, audio recorder that makes post-processing easier, camera-mounted or standalone.
I think going back to sound treatment, that's going to make post-processing way easier. You don't have to do as much EQ, but yeah, that otherwise, kind of that $200, $300 range from Tascam and Zoom are decent.
Right.
Or just skip the recorder if you love in-camera and just get a preamp. That changes your life if you've only ever stuck microphones directly into a camera.
Mm-hmm.
Throw a Beachtech DXA Micro Pro, I think it's called, in there, and so much better.
Very good. Interesting. And then the recorder that you're saying you're using, what was that one again?
The Sound Devices Mix Pre 3.
That's the one.
So Sound Devices, usually super expensive, the best of the best, but they came out with their Mix Pre's, and those are way more affordable.
Okay.
Epic.
What is the price range of that, the Mix Pre 3?
Mix Pre 3, I think, is around 600.
Okay.
550, 600. You can power it with Sony L batteries, USB-C. It's just super versatile.
Okay.
And then they make up to like 6-track plus. So.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
See, dang it. I gotta stop doing shows. Every time I do an interview, I'm like, oh, there's something else I need. It's terrible. All right. Any other questions you're seeing on there you want to hit before we wrap this thing up?
I think that may have been all. I apologize if I missed one. Yeah, someone was talking about using Final Cut on a PC with a Hackintosh, which is cool.
Interesting.
So that's cool.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
I love Final. Do you use Final Cut, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay, yeah, yeah, love Final Cut. Love it. And like you said, syncing audio. I'm not sure that's everywhere, but right click, sync. It's just perfect. It's
Yeah.
so easy. Even
Little
multicam.
tip. Oh, we talked about this before, but yeah, multicams for everything. I love it.
Yeah.
So much power.
Yeah, very cool. All right, there's one more question I want to hit here because I think this is a great way to wrap this up, and then we're gonna call it quits. Mark Masheri asks, any advice on how to get started from a person who comes from a poor financial background? I think that's a really, really good question. It's easy to do this when you've got a bank account full of money. You're like, oh, I'll go buy this $1,000 camera and whatever. Starting with next to nothing. How do you start in this business?
Yeah. I started with nothing. I spent my last dollar on my 7D because I couldn't afford a 5D. I would say avoid debt at all costs.
Yes.
It's just, you don't want that ball and chain, especially now that degrees mean so much less than they used to. So don't spend what you don't have and enjoy the climb. Because again, nothing. Living with my grandfather in his basement and just slowly hustling. But yeah, the debt thing is rough. It's so tempting. It seems so easy. Oh, I can buy a Canon C300 and I'm only spending $100 a month for the rest of your life and interest. And by the time you pay it off, it's ancient and you've bought it 3 times technically
Right.
because of interest.
Yeah, it
But
is
it's tough.
easy.
But
Yeah, it is easy to get caught up in that. Well, I need this gear. I need to have that. But I think that is a huge part of it. Don't go buying things. Definitely don't go in debt for it. That is very, very sound advice. I kind of wish we'd said that in the very beginning of the show. Now that is really, really good advice to not go in debt over things like this. And remember that you don't have to have the latest and greatest equipment to make content. The most important part of a video is the content itself, not what camera you're using, what mic you're using, what light you're using, what your background looks like. It's the content itself. What are you saying? If you're on camera and you're talking about X, your ability to deliver that, your ability to convey that message, that is the number one most important thing. So obviously you have to have a camera and a microphone, but you know what? You start shooting on your smartphone. Start shooting on your iPhone, your Android, whatever. Just start producing that way, because get the content out there. It won't be the greatest production quality, but it's not going to suck, because let's be honest, these cameras are pretty remarkable these days. Spend a little bit of time thinking about your environment, and do the acoustic paneling as much as you can, which might just mean hanging up your bedspread right next to you just off camera to cushion the sound, even if you're just using the on-camera mic until you can afford that $100 plug-in mic that's going to make your sound so much better. But even until you do that, it's just camera, stabilize it, deliver your content, do what you can with what you've got. But it's content is number one. Content is king. Absolutely. Don't worry about the gear. And then when you can start affording gear, then it gets really fun. But it does get fun. There's no doubt about it. Okay. All right, guys. Hey, thank you so much, Caleb, for coming on. This was great. I hope the audience has enjoyed this. It seems like they have. And thank you for being my guinea pig and the first person on this show. I really do appreciate that.
that was a blast, and I hope people get something out of it.
Absolutely. So we're gonna post this video up on PhotoJoseph.com, and it will be available for anybody who's watching right now live and missed the first part of it. This will be available on YouTube for free for a couple of days. It'll probably go up. I'm not going to promise it up today. There's going to be a bit of editing here, but we'll get it up as soon as possible. Once it goes up, it'll be up for a couple of days, and then it's going to go down and go behind the members-only wall at PhotoJoseph.com. So be sure you check all of that out. Be sure you subscribe. Caleb, last little plug. What's your channel? Where can people find you, follow you, and learn all about you?
YouTube.com/dSLR video shooter. Still sticking with that old school name. And I hang out on Twitter, probably the second best place to chill. Or Twitter.com/Caleb Pike. Yeah.
And that's it. Easy enough. Everybody, if you haven't subscribed to his channel, go do it right now. Let's get him over that 300,000 mark, which you're pushing towards pretty soon. Very impressive. Thank you again so much for coming on. I'm PhotoJoseph, everybody. You can follow me at PhotoJoseph absolutely everywhere, including here at YouTube, youtube.com/PhotoJoseph. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.